The orange tabby had been sleeping on the baby's chest for 6 days, not beside her, not near her, on her. 12 pounds of cat, centered on the sternum of a 9-week-old infant, purring at a frequency that made the baby monitor vibrate on the nightstand. Dana Kowalski had removed the cat 14 times. Marmalade returned 14 times. Each time Dana lifted him off, closed the nursery door, and found him back on the baby within the hour. He was getting in through the heating vent, a 6-inch opening in the baseboard that Dana hadn't thought to cover because no reasonable person expects a 12-pound cat to compress itself through a 6-inch gap. Dana's mother said the cat was trying to smother the baby. Dana's sister said cats steal breath from infants. Dana's husband, Paul, said those were old wives' tales but agreed the cat shouldn't be on a newborn's chest. They taped the vent. Marmalade found the bathroom vent. They closed that too. Marmalade found a gap behind the dryer vent pipe in the laundry room and squeezed through a space Dana would have sworn was physically impossible. On day 6, Dana had a choice: rehome the cat or figure out what he wanted. She chose to watch. She set up her phone on a shelf in the nursery, angled at the crib, and recorded for 8 hours overnight. What she saw changed everything she understood about the animal she had lived with for 4 years. Marmalade entered the nursery at 11:47 p.m. through the laundry vent gap. He jumped into the crib, positioned himself on the baby's chest, not randomly but with deliberate placement, his body centered, his head turned toward the baby's face. He began purring. If you stay for stories about the animals we underestimate, subscribe to Cats Know Too. At 1:14 a.m., the baby's breathing changed. On the recording, it was subtle. A longer pause between inhales, a slight irregularity in rhythm. Dana wouldn't have heard it on the monitor. She wouldn't have heard it standing in the room. Marmalade heard it. The purring intensified. He pressed his chest harder against the baby's sternum. The vibration was visible on the recording, the baby's onesie rippling with each purr cycle. After 45 seconds, the baby's breathing normalized. At 3:22 a.m., it happened again. A pause, a stutter. Marmalade adjusted position, pressed down, and purred until the rhythm steadied. Dana showed the recording to the pediatrician. The pediatrician referred her to a pediatric pulmonologist. The pulmonologist ordered a polysomnography, an overnight sleep study, on baby June. The study revealed periodic breathing with apneic episodes, pauses of 8 to 12 seconds between breaths, occurring 4 to 6 times per night. Not uncommon in premature infants, but June had been born at 39 weeks. The pattern was idiopathic. The pulmonologist prescribed a home apnea monitor. He also said something Dana would remember for the rest of her life. There's documented research on feline purring frequencies between 25 and 50 hertz, stimulating respiratory function. We don't prescribe it, but what your cat was doing, the positioning, the pressure, the vibration, is mechanically consistent with respiratory stimulation. Has your cat ever insisted on sleeping on or near someone, and you couldn't explain the fixation? Tell us. Cats don't explain themselves, but sometimes we figure it out anyway. The apnea monitor alarmed twice the first night. Both times, Dana reached the crib to find Marmalade already in position, purring, the baby's breathing already recovering. By week 3, the episodes were decreasing. By month 2, they had stopped entirely. The pulmonologist attributed it to 12 pounds of orange determination. The veterinary researcher Dana found online, a specialist in feline-human therapeutic interactions at a veterinary university, confirmed that purring frequencies in the 2550 Hz range overlap with frequencies used in human respiratory therapy for neonates. Vibratory chest physiotherapy is a standard intervention for infants with respiratory distress. Marmalade had been performing a version of it, crude, uncontrolled, but mechanically effective. The cat positioned himself for maximum thoracic contact, the researcher explained during a phone consultation. His purring created a sustained oscillatory pressure on the baby's chest wall. The effect would be similar to a pediatric percussion vest, but gentler and more consistent. The answer was careful. He knew the baby's breathing was irregular. Cats are exquisitely sensitive to respiratory patterns. They detect distress signals in other cats through breathing changes. Whether he understood the mechanism of his intervention is irrelevant. He detected a problem and applied the only solution his body could produce. Every cat who refuses to stay out of the room deserves the benefit of the doubt. Subscribe to Cats Know Too. Dana removed the tape from the heating vent. She left the nursery door open. She told her mother and her sister and everyone who asked that the cat wasn't stealing breath. He was giving it back. Paul found them every morning, June in the crib, Marmalade on her chest, both breathing in a rhythm so synchronized it looked rehearsed. It wasn't rehearsed. It was practiced. 6 days of being removed. 6 days of finding another way back, because some guardians don't wait to be invited. They just show up. The apnea monitor was returned to the medical equipment company when Eliza turned 4 months old. The pulmonologist cleared her from monitoring at that appointment. The episodes had resolved, her oxygen saturation was consistently normal, and the neurological maturation that controlled her breathing rhythm had completed. Dana filled out the return paperwork at the kitchen table. Marmalade was beside her on the chair, not on the paperwork, beside it. 12 pounds of orange sitting with proprietary calm, watching the pen move across the form. Dana put down the pen and looked at him. 6 days of removing him. 6 days of tape over vents and closed doors, and the reasonable assumption that a 12-pound cat had no business sleeping on a 9-week-old's chest. 6 days of misunderstanding a mission so urgent that it drove him through a gap behind a dryer vent pipe. "I owe you an apology," Dana said. Marmalade blinked slowly. The cat's slow blink, the expression that ethologists call a relaxed affiliative signal, but that every cat owner understands as something closer to acknowledged and forgiven. And this is what you should have done from the beginning. Dana scratched behind his ear. He pressed his head into her hand with the focused pressure of a 12-pound creature who has decided that this particular contact is correct. Paul came into the kitchen and saw the paperwork. Returning the monitor. She doesn't need it anymore. He looked at Marmalade. Does she still need him? Dana thought about it. Eliza's breathing was normal now. The apnea had resolved. The episodes that had required the monitoring, the pauses, the rhythm disruptions, the moments that had sent a cat through increasingly creative routes back to a crib, were over. No, Dana said. But he's staying. Marmalade stepped off the chair and walked to the nursery door. He sat. He looked back at Dana. She followed. Eliza was in the crib, awake, arms waving at the mobile above her. Normal baby movement. Normal baby sounds. Breathing in perfect, uninterrupted rhythm. Marmalade jumped into the crib, turned once, and lay beside her. Not on her chest. Beside her, the posture of a cat who is present rather than working, monitoring rather than intervening. Eyes half closed, purring at the frequency that the researcher had described as therapeutically consistent. He didn't need to press anymore. The rhythm was right, but he would know if it changed. He would always know. And if it changed, he would find a way back in.